see you.
Howdy, everyone.
Welcome back to the second of our three-part series to help you crisis-proof your finances. This week, we're talking about 9 ways to trim your budget right away. So we did an analysis and looked at what are some ways that people could quickly, easily, and efficiently trim their budget in case they lost hours or they lost their job, or if you're just concerned and you want to try to be as financially conscious as possible. We've got 9 tips for you to trim your budget right away. We're here to help you crisis-proof your finances. We can't speak to every single situation. The recommendations that we have here are for a broad audience. Unfortunately, we can't cover all of the extremes. So while some of these tips, all of these tips are applicable to a lot of people, they're not necessarily applicable to everyone. We are taking questions, so if you, as we go through this, so please ask your questions as we're discussing it. It's kind of a strategic process to see where the questions go, so please give us a minute or two before we respond to you. If anybody out there could let us know if you're hearing us, give us a thumbs up. That'd be awesome. Hey there, Mandy Tate. Great to see you. Hope you're surviving quarantine. If you could give us a thumbs up and let us know if you can hear us, that'd be awesome. We're not exactly sure if our sound's 100%. We will save this recording, so if you're not able to watch it now or watch the whole thing in its entirety, you will be able to watch the video after the fact. We want to caution everyone. I think right now, thank you, Mandy. It sounds like the sound is good.
Yeah.
We want to caution. It's very possible that now that we're in a crisis situation, now that we're in quarantine, and this kind of seems like it's a legit thing going on, that now we kind of look back in our past and we think of all the ways that we could have made better decisions, all the things that we should have done, how we should have listened to somebody's recommendation to build our emergency savings account, or trim our budget this way and that way, and we never did that. We want to caution you to don't beat yourself up. We can't increase the anxiety that we have now by beating ourselves up for decisions or lack of decisions that we made in the past. The goal here is to make better decisions going forward, especially while we're in this crisis situation.
Yeah, exactly. We're all going to be under enough anxiety and stress anyway. Kicking yourself for the past choices that you've made isn't going to do you any good, right? So let's focus on making those better decisions, and that's part of the reason why we're here, is to help you see what some of those decisions could be.
Exactly. So we're providing a free checklist again, as we did last week, so that you can go through these step by step after this call is over. Go ahead and download that. It's in the description of the show. That'll take you to our site. You can download that, and this is what we'll use to follow along while we go through the video chat, as well as something that you can follow along with afterwards, so that you know exactly how you can implement each of these steps.
Exactly.
We have estimated that combined the 9 tips here that we're going to share right now could save you anywhere from $60 to $750 a month. We've already instituted some of these in the past. Some of these we actually just instituted ourselves. So we're going through this with you as well. And so I think for a lot of people today, being able to save $60 to $750 a month could be a real game changer.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing is that I think for, depending on where you're at financially with this pandemic, with this crisis situation right now, is how you're going to make these kinds of changes. Clearly, if you're already have experienced job loss, income insecurity, or your number of hours is down, you're going to want to think really hard about how you can make these decisions and implement these so that you can try to immediately start to cut out the expenses. When someone goes into a hospital and they're in a dire situation, the doctors aren't going to pump them full of blood if there's a huge hole, right? They're going to want to fix the hole in the vein or in the arm or wherever the case may be before they start giving them blood.
Your analysis is so graphic.
I know it is graphic, because for some people these choices are going to have to be pretty. Some of you, they may not have to be that significant, but if you can make some of these changes, this could set you up for the opportunity to make some of those better decisions to fund your emergency savings even during a time period like this.
Exactly. So thanks, Scott. We appreciate you giving us a thumbs up on the sound. Hi, Allison. Good to see you as well. Hope you're all safe and sound. I think they're in Mexico right now.
Yep,
right?
they are.
Awesome. That's cool. So it's Showtime Synergy. Do you want to go ahead and kick us off with number 1?
All right. So the first one may seem like something you might not want to do right now, but it is a way for you to cut expenses. And what we're suggesting is that you look at some of your streaming services for video, things like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Apple TV. Are those services ones that you may be able to trim or cut back? Switching to some of the freer versions of video services, things like YouTube, or maybe downgrading some of your subscription video streaming services, or cutting some out. John and I did this last week. We looked and we said, you know what? We haven't watched Hulu in over a month. We're going to get rid of it. And so using some of these services is helping some of us get through time periods like this. But if you're in a situation where you need to figure out where to get some money, this is a great one. So this is one that if you were to cut anywhere from one to a couple of these, you could save yourself anywhere between $10 and $50 a month. And so right here, here's the very first item we have on that checklist. So we want to encourage you to look strategically at these services. For John and I, we primarily use Netflix and Amazon Prime. And so we know that we can watch literally hundreds of movies and shows. There's no reason for us to have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these different services, with the exception of it's a nice thing to have. Well, right now, we don't want to spend money on nice things to have. We want to spend our money on what's important. So take one of these into consideration.
Yeah, I think there was a big trend a couple of years ago, and some people still talk about it today, about cutting the cord, and that the idea with that was to cancel cable, because basic cable is like $100 or at least $80. So there's a big trend to cut the cord. And then at that time when that first started, you really had one option at that point. It was like Netflix, and then Hulu came into the picture, and then Disney Plus came into the picture, and then Apple TV. And all of a sudden, all of these combined, you're almost back up to what it cost you to have basic cable way back in your. So I think it's look at these services and be judicious about what's actually providing you value and what you need today. Yes, a lot of us have some time to kill, and so this might be our sanctuary. But do we necessarily need all of these services at one time, especially if we're losing hours or have lost our job?
Right. And everybody's just watching Tiger King right now anyway, right? So that's the only one you really need. No, just kidding.
Tip number 2 is to change your music streaming services like Pandora, Spotify, Apple to the ad-supported freer versions. I know that everybody hates to have their song interrupted with a commercial these days, but having those paid services so we can avoid the commercials does actually cost money. And especially if you're, again, using all of the streaming options and you're paying to avoid the commercials for all of the streaming options, that's costing you some money. Now might not be the best way to spend that money. So if you're able to go to the ad-supported versions for Pandora, Spotify, Apple, or any other streaming services out there, you could save yourself between $5 and $20 a month. And I'll be honest, David and I have never paid for the free versions for any of the streaming services for whatever reason. They don't seem to annoy us a whole lot. But I know for some people, they hate hearing that commercial. But is now really the best time to pay for a service like that? Possibly not. So make that decision for yourself.
Allison, thank you for your comment. You bring up a good point here that there are probably a lot of offers out there right now for 30-day free trials, 60-day free trials for a lot of these services. So if you can take advantage of those, that is awesome. Definitely want to do that. One word of caution, if you're doing that, make sure that if you need to, set up a calendar reminder so that you can cancel the paid version when that comes available. So be cautious about what you're signing up for, but yes, take advantage of the free things that are out there. Allison brings up that the WNBA is offering free streaming for 30 days. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and she provides a promo code in there. So thank you, Allison. That's pretty cool, and cool for the WNBA.
Yeah.
And then again, we want to let you know we do have the checklist in the description of this Facebook Live. Download that for free as well, so you don't have to try to remember all these for tomorrow when you decide to get back to managing things.
Yeah. So our number 3 thing is kind of in line with these. It's still around this idea of entertainment. Our third thing here is to think about eliminating or reducing your cable packages. I think of how many people out there right now have the sports packages, all these extra packages, and they're simply not using them because they don't have anything to watch, right? There's no sports being broadcast right now, or at least not any live sports being broadcast. So think about what you could do with your cable package. Can you cut it? Can you reduce the amount of that you're spending on that? Or cut the cord altogether. This is a great opportunity for you to cut the cord altogether and lower those expenses related to your cable bill. We know individuals who have cable bills in the $250 to $300 a month range, right? So that's why we say this one could be this could save you anywhere from maybe even from $10 to $200 a month. I'll just give you a reminder about to download the checklist. There's a link in that particular checklist item to how I describe how we gave up cable way back, and we figure that we have probably saved ourselves, well, now probably upwards of $4,000 or $5,000 since we cut the cable cord. And all that was money that we were able to put back into our business and providing us with a life that we actually really enjoyed more.
Exactly. Yeah, I know when we were cutting the cable, we were so anxious about the idea. And when we finally did it, we've never looked back. It actually is not as bad as you think it might be. And we grew up on cable, right? We're the first cable generation.
Yeah.
So it was hard to do it at the time, but having done it, we have never looked back. Tip number 4 is to put gym memberships on hold since you can't go to the gym anyway. Cancel your yogas and your Pilates memberships. We can't use these services now, so there's no point in continuing to pay for them until we can. And I feel like every time I open the newspaper or click on the newspaper, they've extended the quarantine out even further. And what I just read this morning is that what we might be experiencing may last even another 30 days. So there's no point in paying for another 2, 3, or 4 months worth of gym memberships that you're not really going to be able to use anyway. In fact, Planet Fitness, and is it 24-hour?
Well, Planet Fitness right now is what they're doing is they're crediting back to you any days that the clubs are not open. So if your local club is not open, they're going to credit you back that amount of money based on the number of days it's actually closed. So you want to check with your local Planet, if you're at Planet Fitness, you want to check with them.
24-Hour Fitness will suspend all memberships billing, including billings for any additional services and fees starting April 16th. Simply because they're unable to open up their clubs to the public. But you don't necessarily need to wait that long to put your membership on hold or cancel it. So that those, depending upon how many services that you're a membership of, you could, with that alone, save anywhere from $10 a month to an additional $150 a month. Some gym memberships are expensive, so if you're paying for these services and you're not taking advantage of them, definitely cancel them or post. I forget if they put them into postpone them.
Yeah.
And I'll also add, I have seen a huge number of channels on YouTube as well as fitness professionals on Instagram doing some amazing exercise programs in their home with limited resources. So if staying healthy and exercising frequently is one of your ways of maintaining sanity, especially during these hard times, go and look at YouTube, look at some Insta stories. There are some great resources out there that people are using. And as some of the professionals are saying, those people who are in better shape and who maintain their fitness are more likely to be able to survive things should they get sick from the coronavirus as well. So that's another reason to maintain your health and fitness. Number 5, sir.
Yep. Our 5th one is one that you probably see commercials for all the time. But this is maybe your opportunity to take advantage of this. And this is to shop around your car insurance. Car insurance is a significant bill for a lot of people. So get out your insurance card and take a look at what kind of coverage you have. Then go do some shopping online. Spend some time seeing what other providers would charge for that exact same coverage. Then either think about signing up with someone else or contact your current carrier and ask them, is there anything you can do to drop my plan? I don't want to have to shift to another provider, but if you can provide me with the same coverage at this lower price, I'll stay with you. And we've seen, all the time we see these reminders that you can save a significant amount of money, sometimes hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars a year. We figure you're probably, in this case, probably going to save anywhere from maybe $10 to $100 a month. But it's an opportunity for you to do a checkup on something that you're paying for and get that cost down. A lot of these, that's exactly what we're doing. We're making recommendations for, is that you take something that you're currently paying for and figure out how to reduce the cost of that. Some of them you're going to eliminate altogether, but let's figure out how those ones we want to keep or need to keep, is there a way for you to reduce them? Calling and talking to your agent is probably the best way to see what's available or ways that you can trim. I know that a lot of you are probably not driving as much. Now, John and I, we rarely drive our car. And because of that, we qualify for a lower, low mileage rate on our car insurance. But that's because we drive less than 7,500 miles a year. Now, that's what most of the car insurance carriers qualify as low mileage. So if you drive less than 7,500 miles a year, ask your agent, I drive less, can I qualify for that lower rate? And for us, it dropped our car insurance by over $50 a month. So that was a great savings for us. Hopefully you can do the same if you are not driving significantly.
Exactly. Tip number 6, we're huge advocates of it. We actually mentioned this last week, but more and more credit card companies and banks are waiving credit card fees, penalties, as well as lowering interest rates. The Fed funds rate was dropped again a couple weeks ago, and so now might be an opportune time. And in fact, we saw a USA Today article a couple weeks ago saying that these banks and credit card companies are more amicable to reducing your interest rate during this time. Some are doing that automatically, but not all of them. So now might be a great time to call your credit card company, say, hey, we know that there's a crisis going on in the country. You know that a lot of banks and credit card companies are reducing credit card interest rates as well as waiving annual fees and whatnot. What do I qualify for? How could I get a reduction because my hours have been cut or I've lost my job? This is a great way to save a boatload of money. And I know that a lot of us feel anxious about having to call our bank or credit card companies and negotiating a lower rate. But now's an easier time than ever. Simply making that call and asking in a friendly way, how can I reduce these expenses? We shared this story last week. One of the members of our credit card payoff group, she at that point had already called her bank twice and got first time she got her interest rate lowered. The second time she got her annual fee waived. And then she just called again since then, and they lowered her interest rate even further. So it's like almost every time she calls, she saves money. And so depending upon how much credit card debt you might have, that could be a significant savings, especially during this time. And we're estimating for most people, making that phone call could save anywhere from $1 to $50 a month. And I know that all of these numbers that we're giving out sound small, but as you add them together and they compound on themselves, they can be a significant savings. So as we're learning, make that call and you'll very likely save yourself some money.
Again, the whole idea here is to provide you with some examples of things that you can do on a regular basis or throughout this time period to try to trim some money. A lot of us are still looking forward to entertainment and want to entertain ourselves. So some of the forms of entertainment are ways that we can actually trim. I know that a lot of you want to provide and give back to members of the community who are not able to make it through or suffering during this time period. Sometimes giving up something that we enjoy may be a sacrifice that we can provide so that we can give some money. Even just giving $10 or $15 a month to other people in the community can help them survive, right? Just so we can give up a streaming service. So this is number 7 is another service that some of you may be using, Audible or audio book services. Yeah, it's great to have our book read to us at night, right? But that's a service that you could switch to either a free program or there's a great tool called Libby, Libby. And basically what Libby is it's an app that allows you to check out a book or an audio book from your local library. So on the checklist that we provide, I provide a link to you being able to download the app. I downloaded the app applied for a library card, and then was able to check out my first book in under 15 minutes. And basically doing that could save you anywhere from about $5 to $15 a month. It's super, super simple. There's lots of books available. I would suggest that you select a larger library in your area. I selected our largest Denver Public Library because it has the most books. And basically, they check out books the same way that they would check out physical books. They have a select number of books available, but there's thousands and thousands of books and audiobooks available for you to check out. So once you've downloaded the checklist, click on that link so you can go over and use the Libby app.
Yeah, I can't see the comment here, but Kevin Schroeder made a comment about Peloton, and I can't read it this far away.
Yeah, so we do have a couple of comments here around exercise.
And thank you so much for sharing these great resources. I didn't know about some of these.
Yeah, so we have a comment here from Scott Schwartz, and he says, Orange Theory is streaming the daily workout for free.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of you who are in the CrossFit world would probably love to hear that, so that's great. Thank you for sharing that, Scott. And then Kevin points out that Peloton is providing 90 days, their app for free, and has many of the workouts that don't require equipment.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
So our niece told us about this. I wish I would have remembered that. Our niece, they're doing all sorts of aerobics and yoga through Peloton. So you don't need a bike. If you don't have a bike, that's fine. But they're doing that free for 90 days too. That's cool. Thanks for reminding us of that, Kevin.
Yep.
Allison said something.
Yeah, both Allison and Daniel both commented about how they love downloading books and audiobooks for free. So appreciate that some of you are providing your experience with using the Libby app. It's an amazing app. It allows you, some people will, during this time period, will devour books, right? And ordering a couple of books a week on Amazon, that's just going to keep your costs going up, right? So if you can, drop the cost by getting those books for free.
Okay, tip number 8. We've said this before. We'll say it again. It's great during when there's not a pandemic, and it's great when there is a pandemic, and that is meal prepping. I know a lot of us are dining out or getting delivery and takeout to help support local economies, and that's great. For those of us who can't necessarily afford to do that, we think, and even when we're not dining out to support local economies, we're doing our meal prepping. And in fact, we sat down with our housemates yesterday. We went through and we inventoried all the food that we have in the house. What do we currently have that we can make meals with, so that we didn't have to go out and spend too much time going grocery shopping, because we've made the commitment as a household to not go out to the grocery store or big box stores for at least 2 weeks per the recommendations of the CDC. So meal prepping is key right now. And our strategy is always to focus on cooking once, eating often. And so we're eating a lot of soups and chilies. We made several different kinds of oatmeals, and we haven't done it yet, but David's making it tomorrow as his world famous frittata. So cook it once, slice that up, and we have breakfast for at least a week, if not longer. We have a menu and a grocery list templates that you can download at debtfreeguys.com. And we find that with this type of a strategy, you could literally save yourselves from $1 to $100 a month by being very strategic, because this kind of a strategy, not only does it help make sure you don't have an overabundance of food, but it also helps make sure that you don't waste the food that you have. I mean, so often we have food in our refrigerator that we forget about, and then it spoils, and that's just a complete waste. So having knowing exactly what's in your refrigerator, what's in your pantry, and then you making sure that you incorporate that into your menu can really save on wasting food, as well as help save some money.
Yeah. The other thing is I like this idea that I call cook once, eat many, right? So the idea here is that sometimes the reason why we call Uber Eats or we go out for a quick casual to grab something for takeout is because we're just simply tired. We're anxious. We just don't feel like it, right? Well, going out and buying that food, well, for many of us, is going to take us more time than just reaching in the freezer or reaching in the fridge and grabbing something that's already made and putting it in a bowl or on a plate, popping it in the microwave. And that can help you reduce some of those costs. The other thing is, it's probably going to have less salt, less sugar, and be healthier for you. As we've mentioned, we like to batch cook. We have found that in the mornings we will have oatmeal several times a week. I will make a big batch of that, and when I cook oatmeal and I add a little bit of cinnamon and nutmeg, a little bit of honey to flavor it up, and it is that and a piece of fruit is a great breakfast for us. We can have that breakfast for less than $1 a serving, which is a great way to trim a couple of dollars out of your daily budget by just doing something simple like that.
And David's grandmother died at 101 years old, and she told us that the secret to her longevity was eating oatmeal every day.
And literally, she ate
And she did.
oatmeal every day.
All right, kind sir, take us home with tip number 9.
Yeah, tip number 9 is probably one of our other big expenses, and that's your phone plan. Many of us have phone plans that we don't necessarily need. We get unlimited data, or we get this request for all this data, and then we don't actually use it. And that's where we're spending a lot of extra money. So I would suggest that you contact your customer retention team through your phone provider and ask them what's necessary to get your bill lower, and ask them what even is necessary for you to stay. Jumping from one carrier to the other, similar to car insurance, is a great way to cut your costs, especially if you're not tied into a specific or an extended plan. A lot of plans are now month to month, so it's a great way for you to basically say, I'm gonna jump if you don't help me figure out how to cut the costs here. Another story from someone in our credit card payoff group. Mark had a very significant bill, and he talked about how he called and did that this week, and he was able to save himself $80 a month for his family plan. So he was able to reduce that. That's going to help him save money for other things, other important things. We think that this is something that would probably save the average person anywhere from about $10 to $50 a month. One of the things to keep in mind, you're probably indoors for the most part right now, so you're using Wi-Fi, your own Wi-Fi most of the time. That is another reason why you don't necessarily need to have these really high data plans. This is, again, one of the options that's on our checklist. We encourage you to download the checklist. If you're thinking about other ways that you can or want to be able to reduce your spending, on that checklist at the very bottom, there's a link to our spending reduction spreadsheet, which basically takes you through each of the categories. There's all the categories that you have for typical spending throughout the month. Then you can throw your own in there and basically build a plan to either reduce your spending by a certain dollar amount, or maybe reduce individual categories. If you're trying to eliminate spending $100, $200, $300, $400 a month, if you're really trying to drop your expenses, especially if you're struggling with not making enough money right now, being able to map it all out in one place and look at it and say, okay, I can see where I can reduce my spending. That's what this spreadsheet will help you do. Individuals who are part of our budgeting and our credit card payoff courses, this is one of the activities we put them through to help them see how they can basically make some extra money in their own budget to be able to pay off their debt.
Exactly. So those are our 9 tips to trim your budget right now, where you can get some immediate savings. And like I said on the outset, this could save you anywhere from, depends on how much you want to implement it, but anywhere from $60 to $750 a month over the next few months. And that could be a complete game changer for some people considering current employment situations. So next week, join us again, 2 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to are we going to do 9 or 7?
We don't know yet. We're still working
7
on this.
to 9 ways to make money right now. Today was supposed to be 7 ways to trim your budget right now, but we didn't think that was enough, so we came up with 9.
Came up with a couple more.
And if you haven't watched last week's video, 9 ways to crisis-proof your finances, you definitely want to check that out. The feedback for that has been phenomenal. Thank you so much for all of those of you who have commented and shared and direct messaged us. We're glad that you found that valuable. That's why we're doing this, so it can hopefully help everybody here. That's all. Do you have some comments and questions?
Yeah, we got a couple of extra comments here. Daniel, I think when this is all over, we're going to figure out how to get to your house, because clearly you like to bake, because he says baking saves him money. So thanks, Daniel. Then we have a couple of comments about mobile carriers. So Jones is saying that Simple Mobile is great. It helps him use a prepaid phone plan, which is a great option because it caps out how much money you're going to spend, right? So that may be an option for you, especially if you already own your phone. That could be an option so that you can get over to a prepaid plan. Daniel also mentions that he uses Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile allows him to pay $20 a month when he gets 8 gigabytes of 4G LTE.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, and
Nice.
And that's a plan where he pays once a year, which is nice. If you can afford to do it all at one time, then you don't have to worry about having to pay it the rest of the year. That's a great one. Let's see here. Allison is talking about Google Fi. Now, we know a couple of other people who have mentioned Google Fi as a great way to reduce your costs, so appreciate that. Let's see here.
You're on Jones again.
Oh, yep. Okay. Jones, I'll take a look at the link there for that and get that set up.
He said it's not working on the iPad. It's an Excel spreadsheet. Would Excel work on an iPad?
The link is actually to an article where you can get the
spreadsheet.
Get the spreadsheet. So let me take a look at that. Appreciate you letting me know.
Okay. Cool. Thanks, Scott, for joining us. We appreciate you joining us. That's awesome. And Fred shares heard good things about Google Fi. Pay for what you use, $10 a month.
Or $10 a gig.
$10 a gig.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Members of our credit card payoff group were talking about that on last week's video chat about Google Fi. All of a sudden, we've heard a lot about it. So it might be an opportunity for us to look into.
Yeah.
So thanks again, everybody, for joining us.
Yeah, I just wanted to open it up. You know, I know that this was kind of more of us sharing with you all ideas. But if you have any questions, go ahead and share them in the comments. We forgot to ask for that. I know that this isn't necessarily a topic that would elicit specific questions, but if you have something, feel free to go ahead and post that in the comments. Again, download this the spreadsheet. There's a couple of links on there. The Libby app that you can get, a link to our spending reduction, and then a link to the video where I talk about how we were able to cut the cable cord and save ourselves now probably going on $4,000 to $5,000 over the last 8 to 10 years. So,
So cool.
Alrighty. I guess we will say thank you, everyone. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.
We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat station.
Exactly.
And we may give you 7 or 9 tips. We don't know. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye. Kind of felt like we rushed through that one.
I don't know why it's not ending.